1, 2, 5. Okay. Can you hear me? Right. Let's go through questions on chapter 21. Coordination and response. These are the questions I just want to do. No, chapter 21. Why am I lying? Chapter 17. Coordination and response. So I've talked about this chapter many times, but I don't know if somebody was not there, maybe who's in there right now. But if you want to know this chapter, then here are the parts, okay? You should know the human nervous system. To say, you should know, I'm just showing you what you should know. I'm not going to cover it. I'll cover it in questions. You should know about the human nervous system. What is it? How many parts does it have? The 2 parts. Then you should know neurons, about the neurons, the 3 neurons. Okay, the 3 different types of neurons. And there are differences. The differences between the 3 types of neurons. Then sometimes they can separate it to say you should know what we call the reflex arc. Okay, the difference between voluntary and involuntary actions. Then you must know about the synapse. Okay, you should know about the synapse. When you know like this, you are done with the nervous system. Okay, then you should know a little bit about the sense organs, which is we know them because we know the 5 senses that we have: see, taste, feel, smell, and hear. Then when you do the 5 sense organs, you study the eye. That's the only one you're going to study. So you must know the eye and its important parts. Okay, I gave you last time. You should know what is the cornea, the iris, what is the retina, what is all these parts. You should know them. And when you know about the eye, you should know what is the when you should know the parts. Okay, when you know about the eye, you should know the parts of the eye. Then you must know what we call the pupil reflex. The pupil reflex, which is how it controls the amount of light that will be entering your eye. Then you can say accommodation. Now, this is a completely different idea. When we now talk about accommodation, we are talking about the lens. Okay, how the lens changes its shape so that you can be able to see things. When you're done with the eye, you should know hormones. Um, you should know the different types of hormones that are important: insulin, glucagon, adrenaline, testosterone, estrogen. You should know them. Okay, you can say just the five hormones, 5 different types of hormones and how they work. Then you should know what we call homeostasis. Homeostasis. Okay, homeostasis. You should know about homeostasis. How you control glucose in the blood. Okay, and type 1 and about type 1 diabetes and about the temperature regulation, which we'll talk about. Then lastly, we should know about the tropisms, the response of plants. Okay, when it goes towards gravity and away from gravity, and what is oxygens and stuff, and you'll be done with the whole chapter. So if we meet anything to do with these things, we want to answer it and we want to see how it goes. Year is 2024, whatever paper it is. This is February, March 2024, the paper 4. Paper 4 from February, March 2024 is paper 4-2. Okay, there is no paper 4-1 for February, March. Here, right. This is the question. This is the question. And it is on part 9. This question is on part 9 that we talked about, to say you must know about part 9, okay? That is the question. Look at what it is saying. Part 9 is about the tropisms, the types of tropisms. Anita, can you hear me? Now, when you talk about the tropisms, we talk about them being potentially negative or positive. When you talk about tropism, we're saying how does a plant respond to changes in the environment? Now, the changes in the environment are only the change in light, the amount of light, then gravity, the amount of gravity. Now, what happens is this. When you talk about this, Anita, you're going to compare shoots to roots. Here is a shoot and here is a root. A shoot grows going up. So because it is going up, that means, okay, tropism, it is towards the sun, the source of thing. So if you grow up, you are growing towards the sun. So this do positive phototropism. Positive phototropism is done by shoots because they grow up. When you are growing up, you are growing towards the sun. So it's positive phototropism, and it automatically becomes negative gravitropism because gravity faces down. So, yeah. Now, state the name of the growth shown by the plant shoot. What is the plant shoot showing? Which one is positive? What is the plant shoot showing? The plant shoot here. State the name of the growth shown by the plant shoot here. State the name of the growth response shown by the plant shoot here. You can put gravitropism. Gravitropism. Okay? It's a type of response, so it's fine. Then here we can say, explain how the growth is controlled. How do you control the growth of the plant shoot here? Now, let's talk about it. The growth is caused by one thing, which is going to be called auxin. So when you talk about this chapter, you talk about auxin. Auxin, these are hormones that are found in plants. They are growth hormones in plants. And they are found at the tips. So auxin is a hormone that is found at the tip of shoots and roots. Now, here we have them. You know what they're supposed to do? They control elongation. So they cause plants to grow or stop, whatever they do. So, and which direction the plant will grow and all this. This is auxin. Auxin is going to be at the tips. If you're talking about it in shoots, it wants the shoot to grow up. So what it will do, it is going to cause the lower side of the shoot. It accumulates on the lower side. Sometimes they say on the shaded side. It accumulates on the lower side. Now, if it accumulates on the lower side, it causes that lower side to elongate faster. And the shoot starts to bend upwards towards the light. Positive phototropism. Okay? Are we together? Do you see what auxin does? It goes at the bottom in shoots. In roots, here, what does it do? Your auxin. It also goes on the lower side. But now, in roots, auxin inhibits. In shoots, it goes to the lower, then it causes elongation. In roots, auxin will cause the lower side to stop elongating. It inhibits elongation, which means the upper side will grow faster and your roots will bend downwards. Your roots will start to bend downwards. So explain how the growth of the shoot is controlled. I've told you now. So now it's about writing the way Cambridge wants. Where do we have auxin? Lower side of the shoots. Where do you have auxin? Lower side of the roots. But when it's the lower side of the roots, it stops elongation, which means the upper side, or we say it inhibits elongation, which means the upper sides grow and the root will start to grow downwards, okay? The root will bend downwards because the upper side is growing more than the lower side. So it will start to bend downwards. But here, when it's in a shoot, it goes to the bottom. Then the lower side will start to outgrow the top and it goes towards the top. All right, so you should write these statements. Are we together? So you say oxen. Oxen is a hormone. Now you should write what you want to write about oxen here, and that'll be good. So say oxen is a hormone. Or I want you to say oxen is a plant growth hormone okay, is a plant growth hormone that has a main role of controlling cell elongation, the growth of the cell. In shoots, oxen accumulates on the lower side. Oxen accumulates on the lower side of shoots. Right? It accumulates on the lower side, causing the cells at the lower side to elongate faster. Than here, than the cells at the upper layer. Okay? This causes the shoot to bend upwards. This causes the shoot to bend upwards. Well done. You have nailed it now. This is what we are talking about. Are we together? Don't remember, if it was a root, it causes the cells to inhibit elongation. Are we together? Ooh, SOS, SOS here. SOS. Okay, I'll check in a few minutes. Let's keep going. Next question. Plants roots grow towards water. Plant roots growing towards water is another response. All right, so here they are now talking about plant roots growing towards water. We didn't talk about this one now. Okay, they are saying now what is and what do you have? Wait, state two uses. Okay, they want the uses of water in a plant, not the growth. I was going to be shocked. Yes, somebody has a question. Yes. Okay. No problem. State two uses of water in a plant. What are the uses for water in a plant? Transport. Transport of nutrients. And water is needed for water. So you say water is used to transport nutrients. And water is air. Or you can say the metabolic reactions in a cell happen in water. The metabolic reactions in a cell happen in a plant cell. Okay, even in us, but here we are focusing on plants. Happen in water. Questions? Questions? Students, is there a question here? Anita, have you seen this? And Shama. Shama, are you there? Okay. Yes, definitely. Most definitely, ma'am. Most definitely. You know what happens in photosynthesis, right? Water plus CO2 to form glucose plus oxygen. So, most definitely. That's a perfect one, actually. You can put photosynthesis. There is the reaction for photosynthesis. So, yeah. Easy peasy, lemon squeeze. That's a good one. This won't come again. But you told me that they are repeating past paper questions. So here you can see root length in hours. Calculate percentage increase between 48 hours and 96 hours. So 48 hours, where was it? It was here. 96 hours, it was here. So this is 25. Here is 9 millimeters. So percentage change is obviously 25 minus 9, right? Between 48 and 96. So let me say this. For those who remember, this is a bit of maths that we talked about last time when we were doing percentages, right? Last time when we were doing percentages. And I told you that you say final minus original divided by original times 100%. So it's 9 to 25. So it's 25 minus 9 over 9 times 100%. What is this? What is the answer here? What do you do if you say 25 minus 9? What do you get? It's 16 over 9 times 100%. What is the answer? Students, come on, talk to me. Talk to me, guys. Curtis, if you say 16 divided by 9 times 100, what are you getting in your calculator, Curtis? Okay. Right. Have you seen this? We are at hormones. Uh, this is still part of the same thing, and we're just continuing. Now, remember, we have those 5 types of hormones, and all right, let's see. Um, I didn't really talk about the menstrual cycle. Okay, so menstrual cycle, I'll talk about it in reproduction and plants. Um, so I can ignore these ones right now. We'll talk about the menstrual cycle. Let's do the next question. Or do you want me to do it, Anita? We stick to chapter 17, huh? Okay. All right. Internal body temperature. Bring it on. Internal body temperature. We are fine with it. We can talk about it. So let's talk about this internal body temperature, okay? Right. Now, here's the thing. What is the question saying? Let's go through it. Students, real quick. Let's go through it real quick and see how it goes. The first one is saying, um, what do you have? State the units. Calculate the temperature range for internal body temperature. What is the temperature range for the internal body temperature of a person? Temperature range, when they say range, it means highest value minus lowest value. That's what I know. So it's 38 minus 36. Okay. It's 2. And since it's degrees Celsius, you say 2 degrees Celsius. Draw a line to show the set point for internal body temperature at a person. We know that it's about 37 degrees. So this is the line. The maintenance of internal body temperature is an example of homeostatic control. Yes. What is the name of this mechanism? When you do homeostasis, this is called negative feedback. When you talk about homeostasis, students, let's talk about homeostasis. This is important so that everybody knows. Now, in homeostasis, you should know the word. When we say we do negative feedback, it just means that there is a level or a point where conditions should stay. So when we do negative feedback, we are returning conditions to the normal point or to the normal level. So if you look at the amount of sugar in your blood, there is a normal level. When you look at the temperature, there is a normal level. So when you are returning back there, we say that's negative feedback. And it is done in homeostasis where you talk about glucose regulation and temperature regulation. So that is where it happens. So the mechanism is called negative feedback, where conditions are returned back to a state which is called the normal state or the set point. So it will correct something, it will correct until it is brought back. For blood glucose, we have insulin and we have glucagon, right? If the blood glucose raises up, insulin is released. Blood glucose is converted to glycogen. The blood glucose levels fall and they are back to normal. If there's low blood glucose, if they fall too much, pancreas releases glucagon this time instead of insulin. Glycogen is started to be converted back to glucose and glucose goes in the blood. Then the blood glucose levels raise, go back to normal. That's fine. This is how it happens. This is negative feedback. Things are being returned back to normal. So negative feedback. Explain. This is now the thing. How the body causes the change in temperature shown. Explain how. Okay, on region F shows a change in body temperature. Region F here, region F shows a change in body temperature. This is an increase. Right. So we have highlighted in red, students, the part code F. Now the question is, explain to us how the body causes the increase in temperature. Students, that is an increase in temperature. Right? Hello? How does the body increase the temperature? Why did the body increase it? Can somebody tell me? Why was the body increasing this temperature? It's because it had gone low. This is too low. So negative feedback kicks in. Then it goes until now it becomes too high. Then things will stop. But we want to see, what does the body... Basically, they are asking you, what does the body do when the temperature is low? So, when you look at low temperature, when the body is too cold, you should talk about vasoconstriction. Okay, let me put the things. I want us to talk about what happens to sweating. Do you sweat? No. So the sweating will stop to prevent heat loss. Then, what happens to shivering? Do you start shivering? Yes. Because shivering produces heat when the muscles are contracting. Then what happens to the hairs? The hairs stand up. Then we talk lastly about vasoconstriction. Vasoconstriction. When you talk about vasoconstriction, vaso is for vessels. So it's all about blood vessels. You tell us vasoconstriction, you are cold. You can't have blood reaching the skin. So the blood vessels should constrict. To constrict means to become narrow. So I want you to talk about vasoconstriction there. They become narrow. And you're going to have less blood getting to the skin, which means less heat loss. So talk about those. Talk about those. Talk about those. So, what will happen? You guys don't need to know about the hypothalamus, okay? Which is what detects in the brain. But if you want, you can just say the brain detects low temperature. Okay? Brain detects low temperature in the blood as it passes the brain. Now, what then happens, students? You talk about vasoconstriction. You now say the blood vessels, okay, you can say become narrow so that less blood reaches the skin so as to reduce heat loss from the blood by radiation. This is called vasoconstriction. This is called vasoconstriction. Vessels, vessels. Constrict, become narrow. Dilate, become wide. if the body is hot. Matipa, are we together? Vasoconstriction. We are talking, you are telling them what happens to those vessels, right? What happens to. Now talk about sweating. What happens to sweating? Sweating stops. Sweating stops. And why does sweating stop? To prevent heat loss. The hair erector muscles. These are the ones that are holding the hairs on your skin. Okay? Contract. And the hairs stand. And the hairs stand. Or you can say the hairs stand up. Trapping in warm air is insulation. Trapping air is insulation. Warm air. Are we together? Students, are we together? All right, good. Now, you now need to talk about shivering. The body starts to shiver so as to produce heat by muscle contraction. By muscle contraction. Are we together? Have you seen this? Okay. Now, this is enough. Put this and get your marks. And I'll clap hands for you and say, well done. Anyone with a question? Right. Now here they just want us to label this is the diagram of the skin. You have to be able to do it in no time. State the letter of the structure that produces sweat. Sweat gland A. Here you can see that it is connected to a tube which releases sweat to the surface of the skin. It can be D, it cannot be C, it cannot be B, it cannot be A. So it can only be what is D, students? D is the sensory neuron. It's a neuron which takes from the skin here. These are the receptors. And you have your neuron which goes to repeat. So this is A. State the name of the structure C and D. C is the hair erector muscle which contracts to lift the hairs up. So hair erector muscle. Then D is obviously the neuron, sensory neuron. Everybody should know this diagram. It's a very important one just for the skin, diagram of the skin. Right, this is enough. Anyway, Fine. So far, I'm happy. You're doing very well. Let's do this. One more question. We're in another paper. So you just go through paper by paper, and you try to go through the questions, and you see how it goes. Body temperature again? Nah, come on. We want different questions now. Okay, this is exactly the same question, basically. Yes, this is great. Now we are in May, June 2024. Okay, and we are going through the paper 4-2 now. Okay, this is number 2. We're gonna quickly go through it as fast as we can. Let's go. First question: what is a sense organ? Now, I told you that when you're studying the coordination and response, one part of it is to know the 5 sense organs. You must just know them generally. The one you're going to focus on knowing more is the eye, but you must just know all 5 of them. Okay, all 5 sense organs. And the first thing is to know their definition. Then you should know what a sense organ. The 5 sense organs. So when we say anything is a sense organ, it senses. The eye senses light, or it detects light. The ear detects sound and movement and things. The nose detects some chemicals. Okay, and that is why, and it knows it as a smell. Okay, it is detecting some chemicals. They smell how they smell. Then the tongue also detects chemicals, but the skin will detect pain or pressure or temperature or heat. We can say heat or coldness or pain. Yeah, pressure or pain. These things the skin will detect. Oh, you're in pain, then you quickly lift when you're old. Now, when we say we have a sense organ, it is any organ that has receptors. Okay? The receptors should do what? They should detect something and produce a signal. So if you're a sense organ, you have receptors that detect the things I told you. If you are the eye, you are a sense organ because you have receptors that detect light. Now, when they detect light, what do? They release an impulse. So, when you do a sense organ, you say sense organs contain specialized organs. You can say sense organs are organs that contain specialized cells called receptors. That detect a stimulus and convert it into a signal or an electrical signal or an electrical impulse. Here's your eye. Tell us, draw a line and the letter X on the motor neuron on Fig 2.1. So, motor neuron. Remember, we have 3 types of neuron: relay, sensory, motor. Motor will be taking the response to an effector. So this, it is taking response from the brain or whatever, or spinal cord. So this is where you can have your motor. This. Because it's going away from the brain and it has a thing. Anyone with a question? Describe how the events. Yes. Okay. Okay, the sense. Okay. Describe how the events that occur at a synapse. So now they are asking you the stages of a synapse. When you do the nervous system, the last and final thing you must know about a nervous system, about the nervous system, is the synapse. Now, synapse, you should know the stages. It's like 5. So here they want, you should just know how to write it as an essay, because they're synapses allow communication between neurons. So what we know is that neurons don't connect end to end. These cables, when you get to the end of one neuron, there is a gap, then the other one begins. And this is your synapse. We actually call it synaptic cleft. But all the things that are happening here together, we call them the synapse. So the signal is coming like this. And now it gets here. So what you should know is that this side here, this is the pre-synaptic cleft. This one is the post-synaptic cleft, which means it's after the gap. So how does transmission happen across a synapse? Well, you can say the electrical signal first reaches the end of the first neuron. Talk about the signal getting to the end of the first neuron. Are we together? If you want, you can say presynaptic neuron. So signal will get to the end of the presynaptic neuron. Now what happens when it gets to the end? Neurotransmitters are released into the gap. So I want you to say or you can say this causes neurotransmitter molecules. This is a chemical. It causes neurotransmitter to be released from the presynaptic neuron into the synaptic gap. So neurotransmitter has been released. They have been released into the gap. The neurotransmitters Neurotransmitters is just a chemical. We call them neurotransmitters. The neurotransmitters diffuse. They move by diffusion. They diffuse across the synaptic gap. Okay? Now, they go on until they get to the second neuron, which is the one I'll put in green. They've diffused, these dots have diffused. Now they're at the second neuron in green. Right. Now you can say they diffuse across and they attach to the post synaptic neuron. Okay? Are we together? Students, are we together? Yes, you can say they attach to, if you want to say, you can say to receptors. Okay? They attach to receptors at the second neuron, which is the postsynaptic neuron. And you can say now here, this causes a new signal to be released as the neurotransmitters are destroyed. So they are now destroyed. Are we together? Have you seen this? Now, here we are now at the I, and we are talking about accommodation. Sometimes you students are too quiet. Are you understanding this? Anita? Good. Now we are at accommodation. Remember, pupil reflex is about the amount of light that enters. Accommodation is the second thing you must know about eyes. It's about the lens. We need to see. It needs to adjust so you can see things that are close or far. So describe and explain the process of accommodation to view a near object. You want to view something which is close by. So please tell us, how does accommodation happen? So here is how you can remember. When you're talking about accommodation of things that are close by, you should tell us about 3 things. Let's go to this diagram here. There are 3 things that we need you to know on this diagram. Look here. You have the lens, which I'm going to shade. Everybody knows the lens. Then you should have 2 more things that you should talk about in accommodation. Okay, we know we talk about iris and pupil and radial muscles and whatever, but this is not for accommodation. That's pupil reflex. Dim light, bright light. Here, it's ciliary muscle and suspensory ligament. These things right close to your thing. This is the K. which are ligaments. So you say suspensory ligaments. Are we together? If you come after the ligaments, this is where you come to E, which we now say is ciliary muscle. This is what now comes to E, which we call the ciliary muscle. Okay, now we come here. Tell us the process of accommodation. How you view a near object. So you have the lens, you have the ligaments, and you have the ciliary muscle. Now you need to talk about it, okay? What happens here? The first thing that should happen is, I said it's those three. Don't ever forget when you're talking about lens, whether it's distant or close. For distant, you just make it the opposite. You should say, the ciliary muscles, the most outside ones, the ciliary muscles contract. Now, what are you trying to do? If you say ciliary muscles here, the outside ones, they contract. This is going to make these other ones loosen up. And if these other ones loosen up, this is not going to be pulled. It will become loose, thick, fat, refract better, or refract more light. So you say ciliary muscles contract. Okay? The ciliary muscles. Maybe if you want to put a background before you write, yeah? To say accommodation, it's good for you to do that, by the way. Accommodation is a process by which the lens, or you can say the eye, changes the shape of the lens lens is like this, to focus on objects better. Okay? Now, tell them ciliary muscle is the most outside one, which is E. So you can say E is ciliary muscle. Then you can say K. K is suspensory ligaments. Those ligaments, everybody can see them. Suspensory ligaments. Then what was our lens? This thing at the center. Lens was F. So you can say F is the lens. F would now be your lens. Now you move on. Tell us what goes on now. Say the ciliary muscles, which is E, contract. The ciliary muscles contract, causing the suspensory ligaments to loosen suspensory ligaments, which is K, to loosen. This makes the lens, if these are loose, they are dangling about, the suspensory they are loose, then your lens will be big and round like this. Because it's not being pulled to make it thin. When it's pulled by the suspensory ligaments, it's thin. And for the suspensory ligaments to pull, the ciliary muscles will loosen. Ciliary muscles will loosen, suspensory ligaments will tighten, and your lens will become thin and whatever. All right. So this makes the lens, should I say thicker? Because it's not great to say fairer. Thicker. Okay. Increasing refraction of light. Are we together? You can say this makes the lens, we say the lens is F. Thicker, increasing refraction of light. Well done. This is what you have. Questions? Last on this one is rods and cones. Rods and cones are in the retina. They're at the retina, the back of the eye, and they're receptor cells. Okay, you find them at the retina. So you can write here to say the retina contains two receptor cells called rods and cones. Okay? Now they want you to tell us where they are found and how they work. So say here, rod cells, or should I say rods? Rods are found all across the retina, everywhere in the retina. They are found all across the retina. And they are sensitive to dim light. Okay? Or should I say they are sensitive to dim light, or low light. They're sensitive to. This means rods work well in dim light. Okay? In dim light. Or black and white vision or light. These are the rods. When you now talk about cones, cones are found in the fever. Okay? And they respond or are sensitive. These are sensitive to bright light. To bright light or color vision. Cones are found in the fever and are sensitive to bright light. Okay? This means Cons work well I want you to say in bright light, or you can say in brackets color vision. Are we together? Are we together? I want you to say cones like this. Right. So when we say they are sensitive, you could have written to say they detect bright light or colored light. Thank you. You have told us where they work, what they do, and where they're found, and that's good. Any question? Question anyone? Let's see if we have part D. Inheritance. All right. Anyway, Anita, what do you think? You're ready to enter the exam tomorrow. Well done. Well done. Right. So tell me the other subjects you should keep me posted, and we also do them. Everybody who is writing mocks, tell me the things you're writing, and I help you. Let me mark the attendance register right one more round, and then you're dismissed. I'm going to do it like this. Anesu, you say present if you're there, real quick. Anesu, Anotida, Antonisha, Akiana, Ayanda, Clive, Eric, Hami, Hope, Inzui, Katlon Tumbezi, Kelly, okay, Kevin, Laura,